Welcome to Love and Life Physiology. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and join a community where we decode love, psychology, and the real science of relationships. When we talk about boyfriend-girlfriend psychology, most people think of it in a very surface-level way, texting habits. How often someone says I love you or whether they plan regular dates. But beneath all these behaviors, there's a deeper psychological framework that actually determines whether a relationship thrives or falls apart. And in this first part of our deep dive, we're going to uncover what really matters. Psychologists often say that romantic relationships are mirrors. Your partner doesn't just reflect who you are today, but also your deepest insecurities, your unspoken needs, and the hidden layers of your personality. Dr. John Gottman, one of the most respected relationship researchers in the world, found in his decades of study that the foundation of lasting love is not grand gestures, but everyday habits, the way partners respond to each other's small emotional needs. For example, something as tiny as your partner saying, "I had a rough day," and you replying with genuine concern rather than ignoring it, can make or break long-term satisfaction. Now, let's break this down. The first pillar of healthy boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is communication. Not the cliché talk more, but real emotionally intelligent communication. Imagine a girlfriend sharing that she feels left out when her boyfriend spends weekends gaming with friends. An immature reaction might be defensiveness. You're overreacting, it's just a game. But a psychologically mature response is, I didn't realize you felt that way. Let's plan something just for us this weekend. This simple shift doesn't just solve an issue, it builds trust. According to Harvard research, couples who practice active listening and empathic responses report up to 35% higher satisfaction in their relationships compared to those who don't. The second pillar is emotional safety. This is where most modern relationships silently struggle. Emotional safety means you can be vulnerable without fear of being mocked, rejected, or dismissed. For example, if a boyfriend admits he is stressed about finances, and instead of hearing support, he gets sarcasm like, "Wow, you're supposed to be the man. Handle it," that kills emotional intimacy instantly. Experts like Dr. Sue Johnson, who pioneered emotionally focused therapy, explain that the strongest predictor of relationship success is not passion, but the ability to turn to each other in moments of stress and receive comfort. Think about this in your own life. How many times do couples argue not because of the big issue, but because one partner doesn't feel emotionally heard? That's why so many breakups sound like, "It wasn't what you did, it was how you made me feel." This highlights the truth that relationships are less about events and more about emotional experiences. The third pillar is respect for individuality. This is where boyfriend-girlfriend dynamics often clash. At the start, everything feels exciting and connected. You want to spend every moment together, share playlists, eat at the same restaurants, and even match clothes. But as time passes, healthy couples realize that personal space is not rejection, it's oxygen for the relationship. For example, if a girlfriend loves painting, and her boyfriend loves playing basketball, a secure relationship allows both to thrive without guilt. On the other hand, toxic dynamics creep in when partners demand constant validation. "Why do you need to go out without me? Do you not love me enough?" Such patterns are rooted in insecurity rather than love. According to the American Psychological Association, couples who encourage each other's individuality show greater long-term stability and lower conflict rates. Let me give you a real-world example here. Imagine Sarah and Daniel. Sarah feels anxious when Daniel doesn't text her every hour. Instead of reflecting on her anxiety, she blames Daniel. "You don't care about me." Daniel, feeling attacked, withdraws, which makes Sarah panic even more. This vicious cycle is common. But here's the twist. The issue isn't texting, it's attachment style. Psychology teaches us that people with an anxious attachment style often need reassurance, while avoidant partners crave distance. Understanding these patterns can transform conflict into compassion. Instead of fighting, Sarah could say, "When I don't hear from you, I feel insecure. Could you just send a quick check-in?" Daniel, understanding her need, can meet her halfway. This small change rewires the dynamic from toxic to supportive. The fourth pillar is growth orientation. Relationships are not static, they're living systems. Think about it. Two people meet, fall in love, and start building a bond. But over the years, their personalities evolve, careers change and life challenges appear. The couples who survive are those who treat the relationship like a growth project. For instance, if a boyfriend gets a new job in a different city, the question isn't just do we stay together, but how do we adapt our love to this new phase? Research from Stanford University shows that couples with a growth mindset, those who believe relationships can evolve through effort, are far more resilient in the face of stress. One expert insight here. Dr. Carol Dweck, the psychologist behind the concept of growth mindset, explains that when couples frame challenges as opportunities rather than threats, their bond deepens. So a girlfriend saying, "This long-distance phase will test us, but it can also make us stronger," creates a very different emotional climate than saying, "This is impossible, we're doomed." The words we choose literally shape the psychology of our love. Finally, the fifth pillar of boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is shared meaning. This is deeper than just having fun together. Shared meaning means creating rituals, inside jokes, goals, and memories that belong only to the two of you. For example, maybe you always celebrate Fridays with takeout pizza and a movie. Or maybe you set a long-term goal of traveling to 5 countries together before marriage. These shared rituals create a sense of us against the world that strengthens resilience. Dr. Gottman calls this the we-ness factor, and his research shows that couples with strong shared meaning last significantly longer than those who don't develop it. Now let's pause and reflect. If you look at these 5 pillars, communication, emotional safety, respect for individuality, growth orientation, and shared meaning, they're not glamorous. They don't sound like the stuff of Hollywood movies. But they are the real psychology behind why some relationships not only survive but thrive. And here's where it gets personal for you. If you're watching this, ask yourself, do I truly listen to my partner without preparing my defense? Do I make my partner feel safe being vulnerable? Do I allow both of us to grow as individuals? Do I see challenges as opportunities for growth or as threats? Do we have rituals and shared dreams that bind us together? If you answered no to any of these, don't panic. That's not failure. It's awareness. And awareness is the first step to transformation. Relationships are not about perfection but about progress. If this is resonating with you, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to Love and Life Physiology for more psychology-based relationship insights. When people think about relationships, they often focus on the visible side: gifts, Instagram posts, fancy dates. But psychology tells us that what truly matters in boyfriend-girlfriend dynamics lies beneath the surface, in the unseen emotional exchanges, the silent moments, the tone of voice, the unspoken expectations. All of these build or break intimacy. And that's exactly where the deeper science of relationships begins to unfold. Let's start with something many couples underestimate: emotional availability. You can be physically present with your partner and still be emotionally absent. Imagine a boyfriend scrolling through his phone while his girlfriend is talking about her workday. Physically, he's sitting right next to her, but emotionally, he's miles away. Research from the University of Denver shows that couples who consistently fail to practice emotional availability are at much higher risk of dissatisfaction, even if they spend a lot of time together. Emotional presence is not about hours, it's about attention. One moment of deep, undistracted listening is worth more than a whole evening of half-hearted company. Another overlooked aspect is conflict management. Notice I didn't say conflict avoidance. Healthy couples argue. In fact, studies prove that couples who never argue often suppress their feelings, which leads to resentment. The difference between couples who last and those who don't is how they argue. Do they attack each other's character? "You're so selfish. You never care about me." Or do they address the specific behavior? "When you cancel our plans last minute, I feel unimportant." That distinction changes everything. Dr. Gottman's research shows that couples who use what he calls gentle startup, raising issues without blame, are far more likely to resolve problems effectively. Instead of starting with "you always" or "you never," starting with "I feel," creates space for understanding. This leads us to an essential truth: love without respect is fragile. Respect in relationships doesn't only mean avoiding insults. It means respecting time, boundaries, and even differences in opinion. For example, if a girlfriend values family dinners, and her boyfriend values personal downtime. Respect means finding a compromise rather than dismissing one another's needs. Too often, couples equate love with sameness. If you love me, you should think like me. But in reality, the healthiest relationships honor differences while holding on to the bond. As psychologist Dr. Terry Orbuch points out in her long-term study, couples who embrace respectful compromise report significantly higher long-term happiness. Respect also shows up in the small daily gestures, saying thank you when your partner makes you coffee, noticing when they're tired and offering help, protecting their self-esteem in public, rather than making jokes at their expense. These moments may seem small, but they form the emotional climate of the relationship. One partner once said in a study, "It's not the big fights I remember, it's the little ways I felt unseen." That line is a reminder that everyday respect is the quiet glue holding love together. Another cornerstone of boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is trust building. Trust is not built once, it's built every day. Think of trust as a bank account. You deposit through honesty, consistency, and reliability. Canceling plans without explanation, lying about small things, or breaking promises are like constant withdrawals. Eventually the account goes empty. Rebuilding it takes years. One fascinating study by the University of California showed that partners perceive dishonesty, even about minor things like "I'll be home in 5 minutes" when it's actually 20, as a sign of unreliability. Over time, these small cracks erode trust. On the other hand, when partners consistently keep their word, even in small matters, the relationship feels secure and safe. Now let's talk about intimacy, which goes far beyond physical closeness. True intimacy is emotional transparency, being able to say, "I'm scared, I'm insecure," or "I need you," without fear of judgment. Many boyfriends and girlfriends struggle here because society often trains us to wear masks. Men are told to be strong and hide their vulnerability, while women sometimes fear being labeled too emotional. But in reality, intimacy thrives on honesty. Dr. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability, explains that connection is the energy created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. That's intimacy in its truest form. Consider this example. A girlfriend tells her boyfriend she feels unattractive lately. If he responds with "Don't be silly, you look fine," he misses the deeper vulnerability. But if he looks her in the eye and says, "I think you're beautiful, and I also want to know what's making you feel this way," the connection deepens. Intimacy is not about fixing feelings, it's about honoring them. If you're finding value in this, don't just watch, engage. Drop a comment below about what you believe is the most important ingredient in a strong relationship, and subscribe to Love and Life Physiology so you don't miss future insights. Moving forward, we can't ignore the role of boundaries. In psychology, boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors that define how love flows. A boyfriend who checks his girlfriend's phone every night under the excuse of love is not showing care. He's crossing boundaries rooted in insecurity. A girlfriend who demands constant updates about her partner's location is not building closeness. She's suffocating trust. Healthy boundaries sound like, "I love spending time with you, but I also need an hour every evening to recharge alone." Far from creating distance, such honesty prevents resentment. As therapist Nedra Tawwab emphasizes, boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. When boundaries are ignored, relationships slip into control dynamics, and control is the opposite of love. Love is freedom with responsibility. Think of it like two trees growing side by side. Their roots may intertwine, but each still grows independently toward the sun. That's how healthy boundaries nourish love. Finally, let's reflect on the psychology of gratitude. Relationships where gratitude is practiced daily become emotionally rich. Saying "I appreciate you picking me up" or "Thank you for listening to me vent" might feel small, but it rewires the brain. Studies from UC Davis show that gratitude releases dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals that bond couples. Without gratitude, love begins to feel taken for granted, and resentment builds. With gratitude, even ordinary moments shine. So if we look closely, boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is not just about being in love. It's about emotional availability, conflict management, respect, trust, intimacy, boundaries, and gratitude. Each of these elements works like threads in a fabric. Alone they might seem thin, but woven together, they create a bond strong enough to weather storms. When most people talk about relationships, they focus on passion, attraction, and chemistry. And yes, those things matter. But long-term psychology shows us that passion alone is never enough. What truly sustains boyfriend-girlfriend relationships is emotional depth, mutual understanding, and the ability to grow together through seasons of life. This is where love transforms from just a feeling into a shared journey. One of the most fascinating elements in psychology is the concept of attachment repair. We all come into relationships carrying emotional blueprints shaped by childhood experiences. Some of us fear abandonment, others fear being smothered. These fears often play out in subtle ways. For example, a girlfriend might constantly ask, "Do you still love me?" Not because she doubts her boyfriend's care, but because her childhood taught her love could be withdrawn at any time. Or a boyfriend may shut down during conflict, not because he doesn't care, but because he grew up in a household where expressing emotions led to rejection. Understanding these attachment wounds and repairing them together turns relationships into healing spaces rather than repeating cycles. Experts like Dr. Amir Levine, author of Attached, explain that secure couples don't eliminate differences in attachment styles. They create safety to talk about them. Imagine a conversation where one partner says, "When you don't text me back, I panic and think you're pulling away. I know it's my fear, but I need reassurance." Instead of mocking or dismissing it, the other partner might reply, "I understand. I'll be more mindful, and maybe we can agree on a quick check-in." That's attachment repair in action. It's not about perfect partners. It's about partners willing to grow. Another core element of boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is shared vision. Relationships stagnate when they revolve only around the present, weekend plans, dinner dates, or Netflix choices. Long-lasting love comes when couples begin building a shared future. It doesn't have to mean marriage right away. It means asking, what kind of life do we want to build together? For some couples, that vision is traveling the world. For others, it's starting a business, adopting pets, or saving for a home. Having a vision creates purpose. Research by the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows that couples with shared goals feel more united and resilient in the face of challenges. Think of it like rowing a boat. If both partners row in different directions, the boat spins in circles. But if they row toward the same destination, even rough waters can't stop them. A boyfriend who dreams of entrepreneurship and a girlfriend who dreams of financial stability might clash unless they talk openly. How can we balance risk and security in our future? These conversations are not romantic in the Hollywood sense, but they are profoundly intimate in real life. Now let's address a tricky topic: power dynamics. In every relationship there are decisions to be made: where to live, how to spend money, how to divide responsibilities. Problems arise when one partner consistently dominates or when control replaces collaboration. Healthy psychology teaches us that power in relationships should be shared, not seized. For example, if a girlfriend always decides how weekends are spent, the boyfriend may start to feel invisible. Or if a boyfriend insists on handling all finances without transparency, trust erodes. Balance doesn't mean a perfect 50-50 split. It means each voice matters. Dr. Julie Schwartz-Gottman often says, the goal is not power over each other, but power with each other. Couples who handle power well usually practice collaborative decision-making. Instead of my way versus your way, they ask, how can we create a way that feels fair to both of us? Even something as small as alternating who chooses the restaurant can reinforce equality. The point isn't the decision itself. It's the message. Your needs matter as much as mine. We also need to talk about forgiveness psychology. No relationship survives without mistakes, late arrivals, forgotten birthdays, harsh words spoken in anger. The question is not whether mistakes happen, but how couples handle them. Holding grudges creates emotional distance. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is not about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing the relationship from being trapped in the past. Dr. Everett Worthington, who has studied forgiveness for decades, explains that true forgiveness has two parts: letting go of revenge and choosing compassion. When a boyfriend apologizes sincerely for hurting his girlfriend, and she responds not with a permanent grudge but with willingness to move forward, that is psychological maturity. Here's a real-life scenario. Imagine Emma forgets her boyfriend's important presentation and fails to wish him luck. He feels hurt, and she feels guilty. If he keeps replaying this mistake for months, trust erodes. But if he expresses his hurt and Emma takes responsibility, "I'm so sorry, I should have been there. I'll make sure to support you next time," and he accepts it, the bond grows stronger. Forgiveness, in this sense, becomes not weakness but strength. Another fascinating dimension is emotional regulation. Psychology shows that when partners lose control of emotions, yelling, stonewalling, shutting down, the nervous system goes into fight or flight. In this state, meaningful conversation is impossible. That's why the ability to regulate emotions is crucial. Couples who take breaks during heated arguments, breathe, and return calmer often resolve conflicts better than those who push through in anger. Teaching yourself to say, "I need 10 minutes to cool down, so I can hear you better," is not avoidance, it's wisdom. Dr. Dan Siegel refers to this as staying within the window of tolerance, where rational thinking and empathy are possible. Lastly, let's talk about joy cultivation. Many couples focus so much on fixing problems that they forget to build joy. But relationships don't survive on problem solving alone. They need laughter, playfulness, and shared fun. Think about it. Why did you fall in love in the first place? Likely because being with that person felt exciting, comforting, and joyful. Over time, life's responsibilities can dull that spark, unless couples actively nurture it. Going for spontaneous adventures, cooking together, or even dancing in the living room can reignite joy. Psychologist Barbara Fredrickson calls this the broaden and build theory. Positive emotions broaden our perspective and build resilience. So if you want your relationship to thrive, don't just focus on avoiding fights, focus on creating joy. A boyfriend surprising his girlfriend with her favorite snack after a long day, or a girlfriend leaving a sweet note in his bag, can have more impact than a dozen serious talks. Love grows in moments of shared laughter as much as in moments of shared tears. And here's the final takeaway. Boyfriend-girlfriend psychology is not about perfection, but partnership. It's about seeing each other fully, the flaws, the fears, the dreams, and choosing to grow anyway. It's about communication that listens, respect that honors, intimacy that heals, boundaries that protect, forgiveness that frees, and joy that sustains. If you're in a relationship right now, ask yourself, am I showing up as the partner I want to be? Am I creating emotional safety, building trust, and sharing joy? Because in the end, what really matters is not how many flowers you buy, or how many texts you send. It's how deeply your partner feels understood, valued, and loved. If today's deep dive gave you insights, take a moment to support this journey. Hit subscribe, like, and share this with someone who believes love is more than just chemistry. Here on Love and Life Physiology, we'll keep decoding the science of relationships together.